Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Short & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And by Wyndham Garden Lafayette.
From Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette, we're out to lunch with creative business consultant Aileen Bennett. It's business, Acadiana style.
Hi, I'm Aileen Bennett. Welcome to Out to Lunch. You're probably familiar with the term art versus commerce. It's one of the concepts that we take for granted as opposites: good versus evil, communism versus capitalism, left versus right. The problem with lumping art versus commerce into this list is that if you're an artist, you're required to find a place where art and commerce meet, or you're not going to pay the rent or keep the lights on. My two guests on Out to Lunch today are artists who have found unique and different ways to make a living from their art. Dirk Guidry is the visual artist's definition of a split personality. On one hand, Dirk is an abstract painting. His paintings are swirls of colour blending onto the canvas with movement and emotion, but without much obvious representation of anything recognisable. On the other hand, Dirk is a wedding painter. He goes to a wedding and paints the reception live, on the spot. The bride and groom leave with a painting of their wedding, complete with recognisable representations of their guests. Dirk Guidry, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hunter DeBlanc is a musician. Hunter has been a singer-songwriter and a professional musician for years, playing in various bands. But Hunter dates January 2017 as the beginning of his current career. He's pushed to become a solo artist. Because of an interesting musical journey that saw him land in Australia as a cocktail piano player on a cruise ship, Hunter is better known and has more records played on the radio in Sydney, Australia, than in Lafayette, Louisiana, where he lives. Being internationally famous is not altogether a bad thing, but being a star in Sydney and living in Lafayette has its challenges. Hunter, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Dirk, being an abstract painter is a bit like being a comedian or a jazz musician. You have to master basics before you can improvise. So I'm not surprised that even though you're an abstract painter, you can paint a portrait of a person. But these paintings you do at weddings are like a whole different thing altogether. There can be like 50 or more people in them. They're incredibly lifelike and they capture the unique spirit of every occasion. But what sets them apart from everything we've come to think of as how an artist create art is that they're done in real time, as the wedding reception actually happens. You can't wake up feeling bad and decide not to paint today. You can't hang out in your pajamas all day drinking coffee, working on a painting. Painting a live wedding is no other way to say it. It's like having a job. You've been doing it for a while now. You've done over 100 weddings. Do you paint weddings to fund your abstract art habit, or are they two separate strands of your business that are each rewarding in their own ways?
Yes, they're definitely different, but I consider them different branches of my business because for me, the abstract paintings, again, that's what I went to school for. That's what I fell in love with. I love doing those more than anything.
So you went to school intending on being an abstract painting artist?
Tell you the truth, I actually went to school to be a computer animator.
Of course.
At first. And, you do all your basic classes and you kind of get used to the techniques and all the training that you go through, which UL was great in that component. But I got to the animation classes and I really did not like it.
I don't want it to move.
It was so just, structured and all about the end product compared to I was taking painting classes at the time, and I fell deeply in love with the process of painting and that physicality with the paint just kind of flowing and everything like that. So it wasn't until I took a 2-year break because I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. Went back to school, finished in painting, stretching 8-foot canvases and just really letting it out on the canvas with the abstract pieces. But I was technically trained, and I was always good at art ever since I was little. Portraiture work, anything like that. I was put in the talented and gifted program back in my school district, and so I was always good at that. But I fell in love with the abstract component of it, even though I could still do portraiture work and figure drawing, landscape, all that stuff. Which it's funny to talk about now because to me, the abstract work is so much more difficult, and I put so much more pressure on it. And the wedding paintings are there. I don't have a second thought about them. Like, I'm painting what's there, what's happening.
So take us back to the first wedding you painted. How scary was that? Like, I'm going to paint your wedding.
It was actually my cousin's wedding, so I had a little bit of a
Is that more
cushion.
pressure or less pressure?
You know, it was noticeable if I made a mistake. My family would let me know right about
Bring
it.
a photographer too, because I might not get this right.
And I mean, that was about 7 years ago, and it was something new to me, and I didn't understand the process of it. So I bit off a little bit more than I could chew on the first one. And, you know, for me, I'm always trying to get better at everything that I do. So working more and more on it, and then figuring out, hey, what could I have done differently? What could I have done differently?
Hunter, you're a piano man. The piano man is a celebrated figure in American entertainment, and for good reason. Traditionally, the piano man sits at a grand piano in a cocktail lounge. People sit around the piano with drinks, they call out popular song titles, and the piano man plays and sings them. To pull this gig off, the piano man has to be a talented musician. But there's a tragic sense in a lot of the piano man tales. This image is captured perfectly in these lyrics from Billy Joel's song Piano Man. It's a pretty good crowd for a Saturday, and the manager gives me a smile because he knows that it's me they've been coming to see to forget about life for a while. And the piano, it sounds like a carnival, and the microphone smells like a beer, and they sit at the bar and put bread in my jar and say, "Man, what are you doing here?"
I've never heard this song. I'm going to have to check this out.
The piano man's dilemma is money and security. It's a well-paid, steady gig, but there's an impression that the piano man is trapped by his own success. Making money playing cover songs is thwarting his creativity and denying him a chance to play his own material. Hunter, you're a superbly talented entertainer and a consummate piano man, but you also want to be known as a singer-songwriter. So how do you deal with your art versus commerce dilemma?
And see, that is the dilemma that I'm faced with, especially because to keep the lights on and in order to do this for a living and do the covers and, you know, play other people's music, you have to kind of sacrifice some of your, I guess, almost credibility, it seems, that other artists kind of, you know, they discredit what you do. But I enjoy it. It's still playing music. It's still having fun. And I try to keep them separate, but I've also tried to now incorporate my originals into that cover area, that party atmosphere. You know, people want to hear stuff they know. They want to hear Sweet Caroline, Piano Man, Benny and the Jets, rinse, repeat every night. I find a way to mash up one of my originals into there, and I think that's revitalized what I do, and it's kind of kept me from hating it, because at some point you play the same stuff every night, and it.
How do you keep up with all the songs? Do you have to deliberately listen to the radio to learn new songs?
I've been called the Rain Man of music because I don't bring any sheet music or anything. I do everything by memory at this point. If there's a song I've never played before, I'll look it up on the little tab thing. I'll run through it for really quickly in my head, and then just take the training wheels off with a shot of Jameson. That's how it's. You know,
the traditional way.
It's because it's either sink or swim, and I like being under pressure.
So you go on a cruise ship to Australia, and a lot of Australian audiences. Are you shocked at the songs they're asking for and not the songs you know in America?
I had no idea that they. I did know that they're an island, but I didn't know that there was their own popular songs that they expect you to know, and that just here you would never think about playing them. And also all the Australian artists that never made it out of Australia. There's Peter Allen's, the John Farnham, Daryl Braithwaite, Jimmy Barnes.
And they're people you now think of as famous, but people here...
And now these songs are just, since I've been back for almost a year in the States, and these songs are now just collecting dust because no one knows them here. Things that are weird over there, like songs like here, a popular piano ball song would be Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, right? Play that, everyone knows it. Just so my first week over there, I start playing that, and I go, just a small town girl, and everyone just looks at it like, well, what about her? We don't know this song.
I had never heard it until Glee redid it, and then it became a hit in England.
Really?
I didn't grow up knowing that song.
That's the same thing about, what's his name? Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams.
He's huge in England.
Because Angels would be one of the
Angels
main
is huge,
plays.
huge song, especially over there, and I got a lot of requests for Angels and Better Man, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, and they were like, mate, what's wrong with you? Can you play us some Cheeky Robbie?
So, 2 questions for you, Hunter. Do you realise how, actually for both of you I can say this, do you realise how rare your talents are, that you can do something commercially and then switch to the other side of your music?
It still doesn't feel like I'm doing anything, though, because somebody said the other night I was playing at Legends for Festival, and they were like, "Oh, you're still here?" And they hadn't seen me in a while, and they didn't know that I've been on cruise ships. I've made somewhat progress. I call it progress. I think it's progress. Having my songs featured, internationally. But some people still, they don't keep up with you. They're not always following you on social media, so they see you in the same bar you were in 5 years ago, and they go, "Oh, still here, huh?"
And you're like, I was somewhere else.
And you just go, "Yeah."
Have you considered moving to Australia full time?
I have. Logistically, I think it would be difficult for me at this point. I need to establish more of a, and that's the thing. All the Australian fan base messages me every day and say, "When are you coming back?" And I have shoulder shrugs for them. That's it. Indefinite right now. So.
And I think, too, to harp on that, is that there's this stardom type kind of misconception, to where just because we're doing very well and we showcase that.
And because it looks good,
Yeah.
especially everything looks better online.
And people think they're like, "Oh, yeah, they have their support crew out there," and it's
Yeah.
like, instead of, feeding the fuel to get us further, it's just this kind of like off to the side, like support.
Yeah.
Like
Some people kind of feel like, oh, they're all, they don't almost not need us anymore. I don't know. It's a
tough.
weird feeling because there's definitely the success is not as good as it.
Yeah, and Dirk, shouldn't you be living in a loft apartment in Brooklyn by now?
I mean, you stereotype me, and yeah, that's exactly
I
where I
picture
should
you in
be.
this studio apartment. You wake up and you go stretch, and the birds fly away.
There's just adding zeros to the paintings,
Yeah.
clearly, because that's how it goes, and that's all I do all day long. I just get to paint, and
Just
that's
bathing in your paint.
That's
Bathing
it's such
in
a lot,
watercolors.
because it's like there's so much business components, and there's I'll go weeks without even painting because I'm in the studio just grinding out other things or making my bookings and all that stuff. And to your point too, there's switching between the we're doing what we love to do and what we're good at. And I think it took me a little while to kind of get over that, to where it's like, look, I'm painting, even though it's at a wedding and it's not ideally.
It seems acceptable for artists and musicians to have work in a coffee shop or in a bar or as a waiter while they do their art, but then it's kind of slightly frowned upon that you've done something commercial to make money with your art.
like we're selling out.
And that's kind of how it feels. And somebody told me the other day, they said you need to separate if you want to do the singer-songwriter thing, you need to separate yourself from these covers, or you need to stop doing them completely. I said, well, then I'm going to starve to death. I'm going to have to, I'm not at the point right now. I get a monthly or bi-weekly iTunes check. That's about it. There's no success from getting your songs played on the radio.
So what happened the first time you snuck one of your own songs into the middle of this covers set?
They actually they liked it. By that point, I had played everything they wanted to hear all night. You bait them, you just give them what they want, every request. And then at the end of the night, you go, would you guys mind hearing one of mine? And at that point, they're already drunk. They'll listen to anything. Play the alphabet song and I'll listen to it. But I played them one of mine, and I told the story behind it because, in order to get people to connect to your songs, you want to tell them a story, you want to give them a little piece of you. And I think that helped a lot. And especially because they bumped me up from the piano bar to the big stage on the cruise ships, and that's where they offered me. They said, "You can do your own songs. Make a
And that's unusual on a cruise ship.
Exactly. They have bands that are hired to be on there that their booking agents tell them specifically, you are not allowed to play your originals, no originals. But when they bumped me up to the big stage and I'm doing the theater shows, they said, make it theatric. Make it a presentation, tell a story about it. Make it big. Drama, and it's not really what I did. I went out there with a glass of Jameson, sat down at a grand piano in front
There's
of
a theme here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sat down in front of a Jameson. Yeah. This show is sponsored by Jameson now.
He sings to Jameson. That's
Sat down at the grand piano and started telling stories, and it was just people said it felt like sitting on the side of me, except I just had a piano. Instead, it was just me telling stories, and that's what I like. I like the intimate side of that.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Aileen Bennett. I'm talking with musician Hunter DeBlanc and artist Dirk Guidry. We'll be right back after this quick break. You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Aileen Bennett. I'm talking with musician Hunter DeBlanc and artist Dirk Guidry. I've just realised that both of you chose commercial occupations where you're surrounded by people drinking. Was that a deliberate choice?
I think that...
Does that help?
I wouldn't say so much deliberate. It just...
It just worked out great.
It's where I found them at.
I followed the trail.
Follow the trail.
And so when you decided to become a wedding painter, in my head I think of wedding singer and wedding painter, did you have to talk yourself into yes, I can do this and not ruin who I am as a abstract painter?
Took some convincing from my wife, and just because I thought it wasn't me. Like these wedding paintings, I don't want to be remembered or something, way down the road.
I don't want to be a wedding painter.
I don't want to be labeled or that's what my title is. I'm a creator. I'm an artist. And
now people. Recently, you flew to California to paint a wedding.
Yes, I was in Carmel, and then I just got back from Gulf Shores. So doing a lot more traveling. It's becoming, over the 7 years, it's really picked up. I put a lot of work into the product and the outcome, and I'm always trying to get better with it. And I think my process and again my execution is a lot of work, and I think it shows. And
it does. We've worked events together. Now that I think about it, I've performed at something that was it a wedding, or was it Clash of the Cocktails or something like that?
Man, yes, you are right. It was something
it was
to that
Destin
nature.
Artigo's wedding. Did you paint that one?
At Shade
I performed at it, and the whole time he's deep in his art.
It's 8 hours of work, but it feels like 10 minutes. And again, I'm encapsulating a wedding, a good time with good people, and it's fun. I didn't realize how entertaining it is. I'm in the studio just painting.
Oh, and
but
it's a spectacle.
They're blown away. People camp out with, they just watch the whole time. And I take it for granted still because I paint every day.
I just think it's insane because the entire time, everyone in the wedding, there's so much going on. It's moving all the time. So how do you get that image? Do you just picture an overall image of what you one specific?
Do you sneakily take pictures on your phone? And
what do you do?
Some artists do. I do not. It being a painting, I have the luxury of exaggerating things, and I could bend walls. And if you notice, that's why I kind of give that fisheye look, because I need to get it all in one piece.
So you get there early and do the venue first, and then paint the people on top.
And I love the pressure. I love the challenge to go into a new venue that I've never seen before, and I'm on the clock. I literally have 3-4 hours to paint the background, to sketch it out, paint the background. That way, when the reception starts, I paint nothing but people and interact with the people and capture their personality too, because it never fails. It's loose, but it's detailed just enough that the bride and the groom, they get to kind of play Where's Waldo and say, oh my God, that's my aunt, that's my crazy cousin. There's Hunter on the keyboard, which you are. Yes, you're playing the piano with Destin and Shane.
You need to see this one.
And it's kind of the same challenge to me. That's one of the reasons I like to do the covers still, because you get to play new songs every night. You ask somebody, what do you want to hear? And you never know what they're going to say. Some people go for the, straight down the middle songs that you hear all the time, but then every once in a while somebody asks for something you yourself haven't heard in 10 years.
And then you get to learn from the people who wrote them and how they did it. And
it's just, it's always challenging me to learn new songs.
And he makes it look so effortless,
though.
I mean, he just, he'll flow one song into the next one. I mean, I used to love when we first
met.
Back
in the bar days.
Back in the really grinded out days where I was a server at a restaurant. He was playing gigs at the restaurant. And it was just like, yes, Hunter's playing tonight. I'm going to get good tips because he's going to bring the party.
Nice. Well, let's see how creative you both are.
Uh-oh.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Aileen Bennett. I'm talking with artist Dirk Guidry and musician Hunter DeBlanc. Hunter and Dirk, this is the part of the show that we call the interview. Whether you've been on a job interview lately or you've been on the other side of the desk and never had to hire someone, there's been this interesting trend in job interview questions. It consists on asking applicants questions that test their creativity and their ability to think through a problem. So I have a list of 20 of these questions in front of me, and I'm going to ask you each to pick a number between 1 and 20, and we'll randomly ask you a question, and let's just see what happens. Hunter, pick a number between 1 and 20.
16.
16. If you were on an island and you could only bring 3 things, what would you bring?
Oh, a piano.
A piano, of course.
There we go. Because I can entertain myself for a while with that.
So as long as you've got a piano, that's it. You're good. He really is the piano
That's
man.
all he
trying to
needs is a
think.
piano.
Yeah. Oh, you
That's
need
what it
a
boils
piano.
down to.
That's absolutely fine. Dirk, pick a question between 1 and 20.
I'm
You're
still-
stuck with just a piano.
That's it.
I'm gonna go with 11. Let's 11 me down.
11. Oh, I like this one. If Hollywood made a movie about your life, who would you like to see play the lead role, and what would the movie be called?
I'm gonna go ahead with this just because everybody, or a number of people, say I look like him. So Ryan Gosling, aka
I
me,
can see that.
is playing me, and it's a movie about the struggle of being an artist, and then finally hitting the apex of whatever that artist feels
What-
success
so-
would become.
So what is success for you? What is that apex?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of that title.
Tough question.
The title would
Well,
be.
you know I'm
Question
coming to
just
you
keep in
after,
your heart, yeah.
You know, Hunter, we're asking you this afterwards. So how do you define success for you?
It's success is very individual. I think I've listened to a number of podcasts and talked with a number of people of like, what do you find success? And for me, I think I'm already successful.
You're getting to do what you love.
Yes, and I mean, I give people a window, through art, to where it's a window on a wall. You place it on a wall. It's something physical, but whenever you look into that painting, it should bring you back, or it should bring you to a certain time or a moment that you can escape from whatever life is or whatever life has. And to me, that's beautiful, and that's what I want. I want to move people through my art and or be known for that. At
Then
the
you
end of
are
the day.
already successful.
So,
Hunter, you know I'm coming to you with the same question. You've got off the desert island with your piano.
you made it.
I made it.
What does success look like?
To me, it would be able to continue doing what I love to do, making music, playing music for a living, and have a sustainable lifestyle. Which right now, to be honest, it hasn't been that sustainable. There's been weeks where there's no gigs or the bills just pile up.
Is it hard because on social media you both have to look busy and successful?
Yeah,
Because people like people that are busy and successful.
Yeah, and they don't like the sad stuff. So back in October, September, I had a failed, not a failed, but I had a radio single promo for Sydney, the song called Sydney that I had released. Some radio companies picked it up and they were like, we're gonna make this a hit. Give us your money. And I said, okay, but they had some legitimate, pull. So I went with it. It got played on about 64 mom and pop, community radio stations. It got featured by Alternative Press and some other stuff. So at my point, I was like, this is the most successful thing I've done. How am I gonna...
Did you think this is it? This
I
is
thought
what
that
I've
was it.
worked
I really
for?
did. I was like, that was it. And then the next song, no one cared. Released it. It still hasn't broken 1,000 plays. Like it's just a struggle because it's people's attention span these days in social media. It's very you gotta keep it coming. And
So, in the end, are you going to have to choose whether to leave here and play the music you want or stay here and learn Zydeco?
I think that I'm gonna have to stretch my legs and travel a little bit more. I think out to probably either LA or out to Australia. I think those are the places that I'm off to next.
I'm pulling a sad face here.
Yeah, and I mean the markets though. It's the market's there.
Well, I used to, before I got hired by the cruise ships, I didn't know if what I did was just being accepted by locals because they knew who I was, or if what I was doing was actually universally, something that could move people, on a scale around the world. And going to the cruise ships and meeting people out of your culture and being able to see that response from them, I think absolutely I can go other places and do it.
I'm still gonna see you at Hangout Fest on the stage
Oh,
this
no,
time.
so
Then.
Dirk and I, that was one of the experiences that led me to starting pushing for the singer-songwriter. We went to Hangout Fest together in 2014. One of the best lineups that they've ever had. And some of the acts that I saw have made me strive to be a better entertainer today.
And already you're doing what you love for a living, and that's success in a lot of people's books. And I think as creatives, your job is just to put out the creative, and something big may happen or not.
And that's the thing. I don't want stardom or a huge amount of financial compensation, even though that would be fantastic. Both of those things, but it's just to be able to do it at a level where you feel comfortable. Because
You
right
know
now
that you can keep the lights on in 2 months' time rather than this month.
Because right
don't
now
have to worry.
It's a struggle. I still have my mom telling me, you get a job and give it up, and and it's just at this point, I think I've invested too much, and it's just. And that's what I want to do. I think it's my destiny to either crash and burn or.
And I like that to where hunters definitely jumped into it. Like there's so many people that get caught up with kind of that in between where they can't quite fully commit. And it's different whenever you fully commit to it because it's on the line. Like everything's on the line. You
and
jump.
you don't
in
know
it.
how many other people you've inspired by doing that.
And it's tough. There's so many times where you're just like, am I doing this? Do I need to go do something else?
We
I've been
started
there.
out this conversation by talking about the battle of art versus commerce. If you're an artist, that's not a theoretical concept, it's a daily reality. Dirk and Hunter, you've both found incredibly inventive and original ways to make art and make a living, and to stay here in Acadiana, and we're lucky to have you. Thank you both for taking the time to join me today on Out to Lunch.
Thanks for having us.
My guests on Out to Lunch today have been artist Dirk Guidry and musician Hunter DeBlanc. You can find out more about Dirk's art and Hunter's music by following the links on our websites, krvs.org and itsacadiana.com. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Morell. Our researchers are Anne Christian and Ali Coates. If you want to know what we all look like, you can find photos from the show on our website, itsacadiana.com, and on our It's Acadiana Facebook page. These photos were taken by Lucius A. Fontenot. You can find out more about Lucius at lafphoto.com. You can get this show and past shows as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify. And you can find out about all of our podcasts at itsacadiana.com. You can also keep up with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and you'll find those links on our website, itsacadiana.com. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsacadiana.com and KRVS 88.7 FM. I'm Aileen Bennett. Thanks for joining me today. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the lunch table for more business Acadiana style on Out to Lunch.
Out to Lunch Acadiana is recorded live over lunch at Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette. Cafe Vermilionville is open Monday to Friday for lunch and 6 nights a week for dinner, with a courtyard that sets the scene for fine Louisiana cuisine. The Out to Lunch Acadiana theme music, Encore Monsieur Nice Guy, is written by Mitchell Foreman and performed by Mitchell Foreman and Andre Michaud. Out to Lunch Acadiana business consultants are Pete Prados from Innovate Acadiana and Destin Ortego from The Opportunity Machine. Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Shorten Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. Support for Out to Lunch Acadiana comes from the Wyndham Garden Lafayette, located off Pinhook near Khalees Saloon. Wyndham Garden Lafayette is a pet and family-friendly hotel with reception space for large and intimate events, free parking, free Wi-Fi, and a free shuttle within 3 miles that includes the airport and downtown restaurants.